Hey everyone, it's episode 7 of Riding Side Saddle, and I'm Lisa.
I'm Tammy. Welcome back.
Hi. So our episode today, we're doing a double bubble today.
We're recording 2 in a row.
And a double bubble. We just recorded episode 6, which was really talking about boundaries. Where the F are my boundaries, right? Where did I lose those? And the natural progression of that is this episode in which we're talking about, what happens after a whole lifetime of really not necessarily having boundaries, perhaps, or maybe the progression of, when you're in middle age, to say, I have been everything for everyone else, and now they don't necessarily need me in the same way. Now what?
Right. So that's the title of episode 7. I've been everything for everyone else. Now what?
Now what?
Maybe you find yourself with an empty nest and you've got this big gaping hole in your life. Maybe it's a work situation where you have done all of the things you can do on your career path and you're left wondering, so now what?
Right.
What's next?
Maybe it's a relationship where you didn't necessarily create the boundaries and identify, what fills your own well, and you filled it with the needs of other people to be able to support that. Not necessarily even kids, but just in a relationship of sorts. Those relationships can span 1,000 different ways. It could be a parental relationship. It could be a partner, a love interest relationship. It could be a work relationship.
Could just be friends.
It could just be friends. Absolutely. Right. It's easy to lose yourself in the needs of other people and meeting those needs.
It's so much easier to focus on what everyone else needs than to stop and be quiet and look at yourself and figure out what you need.
Yeah.
It's easy to see what other people need, right? If someone is having a problem, it's easy to see what the solution is. But when it's your problem, that solution is, you may as well be blind in the dark, trying to find it.
Right. It's so far away. Yeah.
Right. So I found myself in that situation where I had an empty nest. I was in my, I'm not going to do math, early-ish 40s, mid-40s. And I had been very, very busy in my job for a long time and had been really focused on that. And that was fine and great. It filled lots of needs. But now I've got this gaping hole at home. I was divorced at a long-term relationship that had ended a couple of years before that. Now what am I going to do? I don't have anybody to focus on when I'm at home.
Kids are grown.
My kid, right. It was just me and the couple of cats we had. I suddenly found myself a cat lady, and I wasn't loving that idea a whole heck of a lot. So thought, what am I going to do with myself? I remember sitting in my living room thinking, now what?
Right.
What's next for me? Who am I?
Right.
What do I need? What do I want? What do I even like? I didn't know any answers to any of those questions because I had spent so much time focused on everything else, my job, my kids, other relationships. Now I'm left with just me, and I literally don't know who I am. I don't know what I don't even know what I like. That's such a very basic thing. Like if Ed McMahon said, here's your dream life in this box, if all you have to do is tell me what's in it, I couldn't have done it.
Right. What are your interests?
I didn't even know that.
That's a core common question. What do you like to do? I have no fucking idea.
I have no idea.
Right.
So I'm sitting there thinking, well, what I do know is I'm way too young to sit at home and knit and wait for the Grim Reaper to show up.
Right. With my cats next to me.
With my cats. Yeah. So I got to figure this out. Right? I'm a problem solver. I recognize here's the problem. How do I find a solution? Well, I didn't have that answer. But one day, checking my email, and I get a Groupon email came in. It was for a pottery class. It was like $20 on a Tuesday night, or $40 or whatever it was. It was a small amount of money. And I thought, well, what the heck? I've got that much money. And
I have Tuesday nights.
Yeah, that's it. I'm surely not doing anything on Tuesday nights. So,
kitty cat? What do you think?
It was sort of like that. I want to say I wasn't talking to the cat, but I probably was. And I thought, what the heck? Why not try it? I don't know that I don't like it. This is me trying to figure out what I like. How do I even know what that is if I don't try stuff, right? When you know what you don't want, you know what you do want. So I'm going to go and try that and at least check it off my list as something I don't like, right? So I go, and it was a hand building class, so it wasn't like on the wheel like, Demi Moore in Ghost. It wasn't like that. It was just slabs of clay, and I built a mug, and I left there feeling so full. That should have been my first clue that I had a well, and that was how I could fill it, because that same feeling I have when I'm in a garden picking flowers, that's what I got when I was at that pottery class. I left there. It was at Terra Doma Studio. They were on the it wasn't really south side of Milwaukee, but south of downtown anyway, and it was in an old, beautiful old industrial, warehouse, a factory kind of place. And so it was down a couple of hallways was where their studio space was. And when I left there, I was literally like jumping up and down, skipping down the hallway. I was that full. Like I found my thing. That's how I felt. Like
that's awesome.
I found the thing that lights me up. I wasn't even looking for that. I was just looking for something to do that I liked.
Right.
But it so completely filled me up. It was like one of the most exciting moments in my life. It was pottery. It was clay. I'm literally playing with dirt.
That's awesome.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But I had to get to a place where I'm sitting around thinking, who am I? Mm-hmm. Because I had spent so much time being available for everybody else. And then fast forward a few years, and I've got this great pottery studio in my basement that I almost never use because I'm found myself again sitting around being available for everybody else.
Yeah.
I'm doing it again.
Yeah.
I thought I was done doing that. So in our last episode where I said, I don't know, sometimes like I've had boundaries and then I don't and then I do, that's what I'm talking about. Like I had a boundary. I need this time to do pottery. I went to the time and expense to get a studio, put that together, get it and bring it to my house.
You went halfway across the country.
I did. I went to Florida to get this whole studio. And then I get swept up in the inertia of a new relationship, a marriage. I've got stepkids. I've got a house to run. And the first thing that goes is the thing that fills me up.
Yeah. I get that. That's hard.
Yeah.
And it happens before you even realize it.
I didn't even realize it. Until one day, again, knitting must be my thing. Like, that's where I realized that maybe that's when I have some time for self-reflection.
It is. Yep.
Because it's
your hands are busy.
My
and
hands
your
are
mind
busy.
is free.
Right. And so I'm sitting on the couch knitting, realizing that I'm doing it. I mean, I do like to knit, but I'm doing it instead of doing something that really fills me up. I like to knit, but pottery fills me. Why am I not using this time to go do that? Mm-hmm. I'm sitting here because I'm waiting for somebody to need something from me, because that's always my role. It's either the role honestly, it's probably the role I put myself in, right?
Yeah. The support
exactly.
role.
So then people come to expect that I will be somewhere nearby waiting for them to need me.
Right. I have something really important to do, and I need some support with that. So where's Tammy?
Right. Right. Instead of being up to my elbows in clay.
And things that are important to you.
Right.
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 No matter
living
what
my
they
life
are.
for me.
Right.
Not for everybody else.
No matter what they are. It could be clay. It could be knitting. It could be, educating yourself on a topic that has always interested you. Mm-hmm. It could be taking a walk, right?
Sure.
It could be any of those things.
Right.
But instead,
I'm sitting around waiting to be needed.
For somebody else's important thing.
Right.
That may not be important to you.
No. Mm-hmm. So why do I need to be needed so much? Right? I'm living my life in a place for everybody else. I'm not living my life for me. That's not a good place to be either.
Agree. You're not here for everybody else.
No.
And that so this strikes a chord, right? And in our situations, we always laugh that we are literally just like cosmic twins because we have lived so many very similar types of situations and challenges.
Our lives are so parallel.
They are.
Never mind that we're cousins.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Like 3 times over. But that's another story for another day. However, I too have felt that way, but with a slightly different twist. So very similar to you, I have been a single mother for a long, long time, the majority of my child rearing years. I have a daughter who is, in her late 20s and one who is 16 and moving out of the house soon. But, the really critical years of raising them, I did that myself. So it's easy to fall into a space of I have a really important job to do. My role is to develop these people into, adults that can manage life and make the world a better place and do all of these things. And that's my job, to support them in developing the skills that they need or whatever, right? That developing themselves, developing like skills to live on earth, all of those things. And I was it.
Right. But does that mean you have to give literally all of yourself?
It did for me at that time because I honestly did not have time to do other things. I ran a household. I had a full-time job. I had 2 children. One was a toddler and one was in high school. So trying to navigate what a toddler needed and what a high schooler needed when, most of that was truly my responsibility. I had bills to pay. I had, a house to clean and a full-time job at grocery shopping, all of the things, right? So in order to manage what was expected of me, whether I created that myself or not, right? I was exhausted.
There wasn't anything left.
I didn't have anything left to be able to say, I'd really like to do, I don't know, anything, whatever it was. I didn't have a lot of that left. Did I go out on occasion? I did. And, perhaps that was my well at that time to be able to spend time with friends and enjoying.
Being an adult.
Right. But my point is that it was very easy to fall into that, what does everybody need? This is my job. I got this. And then I started getting angry about it. As opposed to sitting around waiting, my go-to is getting pissed off.
Okay.
And, like you, I had a relationship and found, he's my husband now. And, although I brought a lot of those things into that relationship, suddenly I started getting really mad about it. Why do I have to be your support person? Go do your thing. I would like to figure out what I want to be, who I am. My oldest child is out of the house now and my other child is a teenager. She doesn't want and or need me hanging around and hovering to that degree. And now it's my turn. I really felt, I've used the analogy of a workhorse. Is my role on this earth just to be here to make everybody else big, to allow them to reach their goals and, make them into wonderful humans as in my children? Is this it for me?
So I'm thinking back to our Bring Home the Bacon episode again. I think this happens, I think it happens to women no matter if you have kids or not. But I think it's even easier to fall into that when you do have kids because you have to give so much of your time, so much of yourself. There's nothing left, literally nothing left. I can't even use the bathroom without somebody needing something. Or so it seems, right? And women, I think we often, I've never been a stay-at-home mom, but I can imagine that happens a lot, even maybe earlier when you
Most
are a
definitely.
stay-at-home mom.
Yes.
I literally don't have one thing for me.
Right.
I live and breathe my family, and that's it. There has to be more than this. It's the, it's the speech on the airline when you're waiting to take off and they're going through all the safety things. Put your mask on before you help anybody else. We are not good about that in our everyday regular lives at all.
Well, and I was never a stay-at-home mom either, but I can imagine that from that perspective and that vantage point, everything that I'm responsible for as a stay-at-home mom are all the supporting things, right? Like dinner and bills and groceries and laundry and
dirty toilets.
You're not going to go on your resume and say, I washed the floor, 50 times this year. Congratulations. Pat me on the back. Right? As opposed to what somebody who works a full-time job or a job of some kind can go onto the resume and identify, this is what I've accomplished. So I can recognize and understand how someone who chooses to take on the role of a stay-at-home mom, really would have a very difficult time creating those boundaries to be able to say, who am I, what fills me up, and how am I going to get that for myself?
Boy, I feel like this could be a can of worms really easily. There's a lot of societal pressure in there too. You don't have a job. So you're not working, which means you don't really have any value, do you?
Well, that right there.
Yeah. This is what I mean by a can of worms. It's a bunch of baloney. It's total bullshit.
It's because those are the invisible things.
Right. Right. But women feel that.
And they attribute it to themselves.
Absolutely. So if I don't have any value, then I shouldn't really have any needs either, should I?
Right. I'm not bringing money in.
Right. So I shouldn't be spending money on a hobby that fills me up.
Right.
Right.
That's tough.
That is tough.
And completely false.
Absolutely. Our value is not tied to how much money we make. It's not tied to how thin we are or how funny we are, or our value is just in the fact that we are human and we exist. That's it. You don't have to do anything to deserve.
To deserve.
That's it.
Right. Period.
Yes.
That's the end of the sentence.
Yes.
I actually have a difficult time with the word deserve in general. It connects for me. I have to do something.
I have to earn that. Yes.
I don't have to earn shit. I don't deserve anything. When you deserve that, you've been through so much. You have done so much. There's so much tied to the word deserve.
Absolutely.
That it's self-sacrificing. And that's, no, I can't.
You worked really hard. You deserve a vacation.
Right.
Right.
I don't like that word.
I don't like that word either. But it is so ingrained in our society.
Yeah.
If you're not a hard worker, you don't deserve anything. And we don't value working at home.
Right.
In the same way we value bringing in money. Now we're a little bit off topic, I think, but it is the doing everything for everyone else. So now what? Instead of setting up people in our lives to be independent and self-sufficient, productive members of society, which is really our goal as parents, right? That's what we're trying to do. When we put ourselves in a position where we need to be needed, and then other people rely on us very heavily in that role, sitting around waiting for someone to need me. Oh, I need something. I'll go. I know where she is. That's not setting anybody up to be successful, is it?
No, it's not. Agree.
Whether it's your coworkers, I'll be the girl Friday. I will do everything. I'm Mikey. Give it to me. I'll eat it. Whatever it is, I'll eat it because I eat everything, right? Like that kind of mentality. Everyone knows they can count on that person.
Right.
We all have that person in the office. And when that person is gone, whether it's because they're on vacation or they're out sick or they just said, the heck with this, I'm out of here.
I'm done. Oh, look, I just found a boundary. I'm going to use it.
Yeah. And I'm going to mean it, which means you get 2 weeks. Good luck, suckers.
Right.
Then what? Then everyone is looking at each other like, well, who's going to do that now? Because we don't know how to.
Right.
That person always did it.
Right.
Now what are we going to do? Nobody is set up to succeed then. And when you try to find a boundary, when you're already in that situation, everybody who counts on you and relies on you freaks out.
Yeah.
What do you mean you're not available?
Well,
what do you mean you're up to your elbows in
change.
pottery?
It's a change.
Right.
Like, you've been constant and here every time I've needed you, whether I wanted you there or not. So now it isn't your choice. It's an expectation.
Right.
And if you pull that out, right? If you pull the rug out from underneath that like screws up a lot of people's like world. It rocks their world.
Right.
Like,
they totally freak out. I don't know what to do. So you put a boundary in place. Maybe you're still here, Mom, but you're not available.
Right.
And I came home from school and I needed you to make me a sandwich because I was hungry.
Right.
And you were not here to do that because you were out in your garden.
Right.
Now, what am I supposed to do because I'm hungry?
Right. Right. Or the flip side of that. And part of this is just natural and the way it is supposed to be, but the separation process. When you have been there for all of the different evolution of, in this case, little people, and all of a sudden they are navigating into a space of wanting their own independence. And there you are doting. Well, what about this? Have you done? Back off. I got this. Let me spread my wings. Well, no, but I always need, you can't do this yourself. You can't make that decision. You need me. I got this.
I always remind you to get up for school. I always remind you to take your lunch. I always remind you when you have to leave for work. I always, and then they're like,
I am.
Right.
This is my role, my job. You can't take this from me. Well, what do you mean? I'm like 20.
I'm 17 years old.
Right.
I'm 18 years old. I don't need you to tell me when to get up anymore.
Right.
But I always wake you up. But I don't need that from you anymore. So now what?
And there you sit.
And then you're angry because they're angry.
Right.
Right? Stop hovering. I can't breathe.
Right.
But I'm just doing what I've always done.
Right.
And now you don't appreciate me at all. You don't appreciate one single thing I do for you.
And now my world is rocked.
Right.
Right. Now the change is being pushed onto me.
Right.
And it very clearly identifies, I don't know who I am because you've just removed that role and responsibility. That's what I've been grounded in for the last 20 years.
Right.
I don't know what I'm supposed to do now.
Who am I supposed to wake up if you're not letting me wake you up?
Right.
Yeah.
I've never taken the opportunity to figure out who I am.
Right. What do I do instead of that? Right. This is something that's been occurring to me a lot in the last couple of weeks too. It's kind of like when you tell your kids, stop doing that. Well, what are they going to do? Just stand there? You have to tell them to do something else. Don't put your finger in that socket. Come over here and play with this with this ball, right? Like
with the set of Ginsu knives.
Yeah, right. Right. But if you just said, don't do that, well, okay, but I've got this fork and I need to stick it in somewhere. This outlet looked like a good place. But if you say, bring that fork over here and help me, mix up these potatoes or whatever, and I know that's kind of a far out there example.
I get it.
But you can't just stop doing something. You have to fill it with something else. So, Mom, stop hovering. Stop telling me when to get up. Stop telling me what to do. I am almost an adult, or I am an adult. I don't need or want that. Stop doing it. Well, now what am I going to do? Mom, please go take care of yourself. I've got this. I can get my morning started without you hovering over me, and I would really appreciate some space so I can wake up and have a leisurely morning without feeling like I'm under pressure. Please go take care of yourself.
Yeah. Yes, that. And, these things extend. We're using examples of children, but they extend to partners as well, right?
Sure.
Perhaps my partner has gone through a difficult part of their life, right? And all of a sudden you become hypervigilant, and you're there to support and to help carry them through, or to anticipate their needs, because you know that it's bumpy and it's rocky, and then they're in a better place, and there you are, like, oh, okay,
Now what is my role?
right.
Yeah.
Right. And then they start like back off.
Right.
Like, quit trying to anticipate my needs. You don't know what my needs are.
Right.
I got this.
Right. I'll let you know if I need help. Thanks.
Right.
I think it could even be if you have parents who are aging and at some point roles reverse, right? They've always taken care of you. And then maybe you get to, maybe where they're not doing the caretaking so much because you're an adult and they're an adult, and you figure out your adult relationship. But then when they start to get to be in a place where they need help, your parents need you to help them, then what? So you do all of that. You do the caretaking, you help them. At some point, we all expire, right? At some point, they transition and pass on, and now you're left with another hole.
Yeah.
So I went from being a mom, and then I had an empty nest. I had a little bit of time by myself or to myself. Then my parents needed me to help them through the end of their life. So I did that. Now I've got another hole.
Right.
So I'm not who I was after my kids left. I don't even know who I am again.
Right.
And that process, I feel like it's not a one and done, is it?
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. It's definitely over and over.
Yeah.
The spin of the spiral.
Right. For sure. And so it's maybe not, maybe it's just part of personal growth, right? Like, it's forever checking in on yourself. Who am I today? Where am I? What do I like? Have my interests changed?
Right.
Have my resources changed, which then maybe opens up a whole new world for me?
And perhaps the pivot point is the pause to say, do I know who I am? And asking the, questions of yourself to be able to say, am I supporting myself? Am I taking pieces that fill me up and, that I identify with, as opposed to being there to support, fill in the blank.
Right.
And based on that, then that sends you down completely different paths. If the answer is yes, great. If the answer is no, I don't know where to start, then it might be, well, try something so that
find that Groupon in your email.
Yeah, so that I can figure out what I don't like. Check that off the list. Let's try something else.
Right. Self-exploration and discovery.
Yeah.
And that's different. And so maybe this isn't really so much like you always have to know where your well is. You always have to have something to fill it. Well, that would be really great in theory. But when your life is so busy, like you were saying earlier, single mom, full-time job, a house to run, and a toddler and a teenager, and my house is basically two only children with completely separate needs, even though we live in the same house. My house was very similar. There isn't really time to find those things then, is there? You're in survival mode. And that was that season of life.
Right.
But that doesn't last forever. It's just the way it is right now.
Right.
And then recognizing when that season is coming to an end.
And being excited for it.
Being excited. Now what do I get to do?
Right. Now I can spend some time really figuring it out for myself.
Right. Right.
For me.
And maybe that helps ease some of that separation anxiety and process when your kids are getting ready to leave your nest, right? That's not such, or your parents are getting ready to transition, or your job is wrapping up, or whatever it is, right? To think instead of, oh no, I don't get to wake people up anymore. I don't get to take care of this. I don't get to sit around and wait for someone to need me. Maybe it's more like, now I do get to.
So I spend a decent amount of time on social media, but I create it in a way that it's inspiring, and it invokes curiosity. And one of the things that I have seen recently, I tucked it in. I tucked it into my heart because I knew it was going to mean something for me. And I'm not going to say it right, but the phrase or the quote was, change your verbiage from, I can't or I have to I'm choosing to prioritize. Or I'm choosing to not prioritize, whatever it is, right? And the shift of mentality of that is substantial. I am choosing to prioritize supporting my husband right now. I am choosing to prioritize finding out what I enjoy to do. It isn't I can't or I have to. It's more of what's most important to me right now. And that allows it to be a little bit more fluid, right? To your point, right? This is a transition that we're going to face all of the time. Our lives are fluid.
The only constant is change.
Right.
Yeah.
So what do you choose to prioritize right now?
Eeps. I don't know.
See you next time.
Good luck with that.
This is Writing Side Table. It's just something to consider. Right. I can't spend any time on my own stuff because I have this and this and this.
That leads to resentment. Like, just as you said that, I felt resentment building.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm choosing right now to prioritize my focus on my job. It's a really busy season in my job right now. I'm choosing to prioritize that. That feeling inside just creates a very different, nobody's telling me what to do. I'm making the decision. And this is what I'm choosing to do, as opposed to, I have to
work again.
Right. Or, I have a really busy season at work right now, but I'm also prioritizing this important thing that I do for myself. I prioritize having that cup of coffee and writing in my journal for 20 minutes in the morning because that's important to me. It's a priority.
Right. Yoga a few times a week, whatever it is. So it's not an all or nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's my choice.
It is.
Because I'm prioritizing it.
Right.
Not I can't or I have to. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
I don't do well
Sometimes
with
it feels like
Don't
that,
tell me
though,
what to
doesn't
do.
it? Don't tell me what to do.
I'll decide. That might be another episode.
Oh, boy. No, you did it.
God damn it. We realize through these episodes, we sit back for the next week and we're like, oh, fuck. I am super fucked up.
Well, so that's another big can of worms for me to dive right into. One more area I didn't know that I was a mess.
Right.
One more thing I didn't discover about myself on purpose.
I'm choosing to be a mess.
I like that much better, actually.
You know you're a mess? Yes, I choose to be a mess.
Yes.
Every day I
It's
choose to be a mess.
It is intentional. Well, I don't know if I don't know that again, it's not one of those things where there's an easy solution or maybe any real solution because it is so fluid. It's always, it's a work in progress like humans are. We are all works in progress. And what you need today is different than what you need another day. And what you are interested in today is different than it may be next week or a year from now or whatever. So it's just something to think about. Like, I've always been everything for everyone. And now what's left? Who am I?
Yeah. And I think just from a larger level life perspective, you think you got, like you said, you think you got it. You have it figured out in one
don't
phase.
do that. Do not ever get that confident.
And then you're like, okay, smooth sailing. I finally got that one figured out. Check that off my list. And all of a sudden you turn the opposite direction. You're like, what? I
thought I just dealt with all that.
Right?
I put that to
I
bed.
healed. I was good. I'm giving other people advice. Wait, what? I'm a hypocrite? Oh, wait, this is the same lesson, just different players?
Oh, great. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the turn of the spiral.
It is, actually.
Yikes.
Yeah. Great. Well, okay. So that was fun. once again,
I think the thing that I would like to take out of this is the choosing. What are you choosing? It isn't have to. It isn't must. I was told to. I'm choosing to fill in the blank. It just creates a little bit more.
it's a little softer, isn't it?
Well, I think it is a little bit more that I'm in control.
That's what I mean. It's a little softer.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel so much like a should.
It's not forced on me.
Right. When I am doing things because I think I should or because I have to, I know I am, that's a slippery slope for me.
Too.
I'm about to be in a whole big old pool of hot water.
I
'cause
get
that
real
is not-
angry.
Yes. It is not a good place to be.
But if I have used my problem solving and I have determined myself that this is where I'm going to spend my time and energy and priorities, then that's easier for me to swallow.
Absolutely.
And it may be you really need my help right now, and I'm going to prioritize your needs in this moment. And here's the date. Here's the expiration of that.
Don't get used to it.
Right. when you are in a better place,
Right.
XYZ, whatever the situation is, I'm going to choose differently.
Right. Right. That makes sense to me.
I'm going to try that.
I like that, actually. I can see this is a hard season for you, so I will be your support person for this season, not forever.
And this is what I can do to support.
Right.
Right.
Not giving all of yourself.
Right. Like there's a whole bunch of outlets
Oh, for
there.
sure. Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's not an all or nothing.
Right.
But I can be a support person for you. I can still take care of me. Maybe I prioritize what you need from me, but that doesn't mean that I have zero needs.
Right. And this all ties back to boundaries, right?
Yeah,
Being able to
brother.
communicate that, being able to identify in yourself, who am I? Who am I? What do I want and or need? What am I willing to give from a priority perspective to other people who may or may not need me, right? In varying degrees. And identifying all of that and communicating it. Because that's like you're developing the boundary and you're communicating the boundary.
Right.
And you're a part of that, right? Your needs are, who am I is a part of it. Maybe you don't fucking know who you are, and that's okay. That's okay to not know who you are. If you spend the time to start digging in.
Right. Don't spend all of your time focused on everyone else. You'll never figure out who you are.
Right. Right. Yeah. All right.
I think we can wrap this one up, Lisa.
Okay.
So thank you, Mind Garden Media, again, for being our production people. Thanks for putting this together, because it literally would not be a thing without them.
Yeah. We appreciate you very, very much.
Yeah. Thanks.
Awesome.
Thanks so much. And thank you to our listeners. Thanks for
Always.
commenting. Thanks for participating online with us. Thanks for stopping us in our real lives and saying, hey, that was a great episode, or I'm really enjoying your podcast. Or a friend recently said, I listened to your podcast and it felt just like having a conversation with Tammy.
Yeah.
I loved that. That was
Yeah.
beautiful.
I'm sitting having tea and cake with friends.
That was another comment. It literally brought tears to my eyes.
It was really wonderful.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, so thanks, everyone.
And I like cake, so we're good.
I like tea. Tea and cake sounds great.
Sign me up. I know who I am.
Well, maybe.
Today.
All right, till next time.
Bye.
Bye.